Okay, so now we have the positions for all of our game controller objects set. So now we just need to draw them to the screen. So here we are in the draw. That's the K, which is the keyboard section. So we'll scroll down. There we go. Now we want to put all this underneath this game controller sprite batch draw line. Stuff is drawn to the screen basically as it gets to it in the code. So that'll be on the bottom. You can set these up to have different orders, but we really don't need to. We just draw everything as it comes. Now most of the rest of this doesn't matter, it just needs to be on top of that. So we're going to put the draw strings for the instructions, the exit instructions, and the toggle instructions next. And we're going to make these black. Color.black. There we go. Close parens, semicolon. Okay. Then one more here for the toggle instructions. And remember, these both have the same position. The toggle instructions for this and the one above for the keyboard. So there we go. And this will be black also. Okay. Now we've got some draw strings for the thumbstick and trigger positions. We'll get those added in. All right. And there they are. And then I've also added in the thumbstick images. So we'll skip ahead now. So here now are the if statements to draw or not draw the buttons on the screen. Now these look a little bit different than the if statements that we've had in the past, but really it's just a way to save a little bit of space. So we've got if and then the condition, and remember this is a Boolean variable we're using here, so it's going to have a value of true or false. So if whatever's inside the parentheses is true or false, then it determines whether or not the next thing gets executed. Now the next thing isn't necessarily on a line down. It can be on the same line, because remember, line returns in most cases are just there to aid readability. So each of these lines is a self-contained conditional if statement. So the first one says if bool button underscore left shoulder. So if that's true, then the next thing gets executed, which is sprite batch.draw left shoulder at left shoulder position with a color of white, which means there's no tinting. And if bool button underscore left shoulder is false, which is what it'll be unless the button is pressed, then this next part of the line, this next statement, which is on the same line, gets ignored, and it just goes down to the next line, which is this next conditional statement. So these are a little bit different, but this is the way things like this show up more often than not in a very simple thing where you're testing for a variable that's already a Boolean. Now, you know, this is kind of late in this first course, so you should be used to seeing slightly different, slightly more complicated coding, or at least not what you've been used to in the past. So there it is. There they are. There's 14 of them. So those are our buttons. We've got our other things that we have to draw for the controller above that. So that's it for this section. We'll save. And the one last thing I've added here is the exit instructions and the toggle instructions in the keyboard section at the top. So we're ready to save and test. So there we are. There's our instructions. And looking good. Here we go. Right trigger, left trigger, and the shoulder buttons, and the ABXY buttons, right thumbstick deflection, left thumbstick deflection, and the big D-pad buttons, right up, left, down, and it's all looking good. The buttons on the thumbsticks, a start button, but we've got one problem, and that's when we hit the back button it exits. So we've got one more thing to fix. So that happens here in this get user input. Now I'm going to use an alternate way to find this. We select it and go to definition. So there it is. So there's our back button culprit line. Now the text that we created said that was going to happen with the escape key. So we'll just create another line here that's sort of like what's above it. But so if open parend key state 01 dot is key down, and open parend again, and keys dot, and we said we're going to do this with the escape key, so there it is, and close parend twice, this dot exit, and open close parend, semicolon. That's it, that's good. We can now get rid of the other one here. So delete it, delete the extra lines, save, and run. And there's our back button. So we've got everything. It's all working. So there's our application. We're done with this one. We can save it. And that's it for this project.